My husband's family always made sure to mention I was his second wife at every gathering. So when they started asking why we never host holidays anymore, I told them second wives probably aren't qualified to host real family events. It started small. His mother would introduce me at parties as Jake's second wife, after Amanda. Never just his wife, always second, like I was a runner-up prize. His sister would post throwback photos of Jake and Amanda at family Christmases with captions about how some memories never fade. Tagged me in them too, just to make sure I saw. For 3 years, I smiled through it. Hosted Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Spent hours cooking their recipes, decorating exactly how Amanda used to. His aunt would walk through my house saying, Amanda had better taste in curtains. His father would mention how Amanda's pie crust was flakier. I'd nod and bring out more wine. The comments accumulated like paper cuts, each one small enough to ignore. Together, they bled me dry. Amanda always used cloth napkins. Amanda made her own cranberry sauce. Amanda's centerpieces were more elegant. I'd find myself in stores, staring at napkins and cranberry, wondering what Amanda would have chosen. I started having nightmares about her. In them, she'd stand in the corner of rooms during family dinners, shaking her head at my efforts. I'd wake up sweating, Jake sleeping peacefully beside me, unaware that his dead wife was haunting me more effectively than any ghost could. The breaking point came last Christmas. I'd spent 2 days preparing dinner for 23 people. Everything perfect. I'd even tracked down Amanda's actual pie recipe from Jake's mother, convinced this was the key to acceptance. As we sat down, Jake's mother raised her glass. A toast, she announced. To Amanda, who taught Jake what real family values look like, and to his second wife for trying her best. Everyone drank. No one looked at me. Jake squeezed my hand under the table. Just let it go, he whispered. You know how she is. I stood up. I need to check the turkey. In the kitchen, I stared at the meal I'd prepared. Correction, the meal Amanda used to prepare that I'd been copying like some desperate understudy. 3 years of my life spent impersonating a dead woman. 3 years of erasing myself to become someone else's memory. I grabbed my phone and texted my sister. She arrived 20 minutes later with Tupperware and a look that said she'd been waiting for this call. Finally, she muttered as we loaded containers. Took you long enough. We took the turkey, the ham, all 3 pies, the au gratin potatoes that I'd made from scratch, shredding my knuckles on the grater, the green bean casserole with the fancy crispy onions. We left them with dinner rolls and butter. Jake called me dozens of times that night. His family had to order pizza for Christmas dinner. Apparently, it took an hour to arrive and cost $200 for enough pizza to feed everyone. His mother called it the most humiliating Christmas of her life. Good. For 6 months, I went silent on the family events. Jake would go alone, then come home frustrated. They're asking about you. They want to know what they did wrong. Tell them, I'd say. He never did. He'd change the subject, turn on the TV, pretend the problem would resolve itself through sheer avoidance. Then the group text started. Why don't you and Jake host Easter this year? From his mother. Your house is so lovely. Would be nice to celebrate there. From his sister. Second time's the charm, right? From his aunt. I stared at that message for 20 minutes. Second time's the charm. Like I was a do-over. A second attempt at getting things right. Like Amanda was the rough draft and I was supposed to be the final copy. I replied to the group chat. Second wives probably aren't qualified to host real family events. Wouldn't want to disappoint anyone with my inferior hostessing skills. My phone exploded. 37 texts in 10 minutes. Most started with, I can't believe you'd say that, or, you're being so sensitive. Jake's mother called me ungrateful. His sister said I was tearing the family apart. His father sent a long message about how family means forgiveness and I was being petty. His aunt wrote 3 paragraphs about how Amanda never would have been so disrespectful. His uncle said I was poisoning Jake against his own family. His cousin, who I'd met exactly twice, felt compelled to weigh in about how family comes first. Only Jake's grandmother texted separately. Good for you. They've needed someone to tell them off for years. Last week, Jake's mother called me directly. She was crying. I need to talk to you. There's something about Amanda you need to know. Something we should have told you years ago. My stomach dropped. What about her? Not over the phone, she said. Can you come over tomorrow? Just you and me, please. It's important. I drove to her house the next afternoon. My hands shook on the steering wheel. Jake had offered to come with me, but his mother insisted it needed to be just us. That made it worse somehow. What could she possibly need to tell me that Jake couldn't hear? She opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes were red, makeup smudged. She'd been crying for hours, maybe days. Come in, please. Her living room was different than I remembered. The photos of Amanda that usually covered every surface were gone. Not moved, gone. The walls showed lighter squares where frames used to hang. The mantel that had been a shrine, completely bare. Sit, she said. I need to show you something. She pulled out a large photo album, the kind nobody really uses anymore. Inside were pictures I'd never seen. Amanda at 16 with dark circles under her eyes, standing apart from the family at some holiday gathering. Amanda at 19, rail thin, her collarbones sharp enough to cut. Amanda at 22 on her wedding day to Jake, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. In that photo, Jake looked ecstatic. Amanda looked resigned. Amanda wasn't who we pretended she was, my mother-in-law said quietly. She was sick, very sick, and we failed her. The story came out in broken pieces. Amanda had struggled with severe depression since she was 14, multiple hospitalizations, suicide attempts at 17 and 19. The family had hidden it, ashamed. Told neighbors she was at boarding school when she was really in psychiatric care. Told extended family she had mono when she'd swallowed a bottle of pills. They'd pushed her to marry Jake at 22, thinking stability would fix her. Thinking a husband would make her better. Thinking if she just had something to focus on, something to live for, she'd snap out of it. It didn't work that way. She tried so hard, my mother-in-law whispered. She made those perfect pies and hosted those perfect Christmases because that's what we demanded. We told her if she just acted normal, she'd become normal, like depression was a choice, like she could smile her way out of it. Amanda died at 26. Not from an accident like Jake had told me. Suicide. She'd left a note specifically for Jake's parents. My mother-in-law pulled it from the album with shaking hands. I read it. Then I read it again. The words burned into my brain. You made me into a performance. I was never a daughter. I was a doll you could pose for your perfect family photos. I'm sorry I couldn't keep pretending. I'm so tired of pretending. I'm so tired of everything. Maybe now you can finally have the daughter you actually wanted. We never told Jake the full truth, his mother continued. We couldn't bear it. So we turned Amanda into a saint. Made her perfect in death because we'd made her miserable in life. And then she looked at me. Really looked at me. Then you came along. And you were everything we'd tried to force Amanda to be. Confident, strong, unafraid to take up space. And I hated you for it. Because you proved Amanda could have been happy if we'd just let her be herself. I sat frozen. 3 years of comments, comparisons, and casual cruelty suddenly reframed. They hadn't been comparing me to Amanda. They'd been punishing themselves through me. Calling you second wife was my way of punishing myself, she said. Every time I said it, I remembered there was a first wife, that Amanda existed, that we destroyed her. And every time you succeeded where she struggled, it reminded me that she could have thrived too, if we'd let her. That's fucked up, I said. My voice sounded distant. You don't get to use me as your therapy tool. I know. She was crying again. I know. And Jake's father, his sister, all of them, they went along with it because they felt guilty too. We kept Amanda's ghost alive so we wouldn't have to face what we'd done to her. She pulled out another photo. Amanda, at 24, sitting alone at a family dinner. Everyone else was laughing, talking, engaged. She looked like she was somewhere else entirely, or rather, like she was right there but invisible. That was 2 years before she died. At your house. The Christmas you said Amanda did everything perfectly? She pointed to Amanda's forced smile. She called me that night sobbing, said she couldn't do it anymore, that she'd spent 6 hours cooking and no one had said thank you, that my husband had criticized her potatoes, that she felt like a servant in her own marriage. I remembered Jake's father mentioning Amanda's potatoes, how they were always seasoned just right. He'd said it as a dig at mine last year. I'd spent the next month experimenting with potato recipes, trying to figure out Amanda's secret. There was no secret. Just impossible standards. I told her to stop being dramatic, his mother continued. I said wives who work hard don't complain about it. That's what marriage is. I told her she was lucky to have Jake, lucky to have this family. 2 months later, she was gone. The album had more photos. Amanda looking exhausted at Easter, dark circles carefully concealed with makeup. Amanda looking hollow at Thanksgiving, her plate barely touched while everyone else ate. Amanda disappearing in plain sight while her family demanded perfection. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because Jake's father had a heart attack last week. I hadn't known. Jake hadn't mentioned it. He's okay, she added quickly. But it shook him. And me. We're not getting younger. And I realized we've spent 7 years punishing you for surviving the kind of life that killed Amanda. For thriving where she suffered. For setting boundaries where she couldn't. She grabbed my hands. Hers were cold and bony, grip desperate. That text you sent about not being qualified to host. It was the first time anyone in this family chose themselves over our approval. Amanda never did that. She killed herself trying to earn love that should have been unconditional. I pulled my hands away. You don't get to do this. You don't get to trauma dump about how you failed her and expect me to forgive 3 years of bullshit because you had an epiphany. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she said. I'm asking for a chance to do better. Not for me, for Jake. He's terrified of losing you the way he lost her. Jake knows all this? She shook her head. He knows she struggled. He doesn't know how bad it was, how much we pressured her. We told him she was fragile, had a chemical imbalance. We never told him we made her feel worthless every single day. I stood up. I need to leave. Wait. She grabbed a box from under the coffee table. These were Amanda's. I want you to have them. Inside were journals. Dozens of them. Different colors, different sizes. Some leather-bound, some spiral notebooks. Amanda's handwriting covered page after page, year after year of documentation. Read them, my mother-in-law said. Understand who she really was. Not the perfect wife we pretended she was. The real Amanda. The one who deserved better. I took the box and left. At home, Jake was waiting. Mom called me, said you two talked. Your family tortured your first wife into suicide, I said. The words came out flat. Then they spent 7 years taking their guilt out on me. He went pale. What? I told him everything. Watched him process the realization that the perfect Amanda they'd all mourned never existed. That his family had created a myth to avoid accountability. That the woman he'd been married to was suffering the entire time and he never fully understood the extent. I need to read these, he said, reaching for Amanda's journals. We spent the next 3 days reading together. Amanda's words were raw, desperate. She'd started the first journal at 14, around the time her depression began. I feel like I'm watching my life from behind glass. Everyone else seems to know how to be a person. I'm just pretending. By 19, after her second suicide attempt, the entries got darker. Mom cried when she picked me up from the hospital. Not because I almost died, because the neighbors might find out. She made me promise to say I had food poisoning if anyone asked about the ambulance. She'd written about the pressure to marry Jake, about how her parents had made it clear that a husband would fix her, that she needed to be someone's wife, or she'd never be a complete person. Jake is nice. He loves me, I think, but he loves the version of me that smiles and doesn't complain. I don't know if he'd love the real me. I don't know if anyone would. The entries after the wedding were heartbreaking. About cooking meals no one appreciated. About being told to smile more, try harder, be better. About Jake's mother criticizing her housekeeping. About his father commenting on her weight, suggesting she join a gym so she could keep her figure for Jake. About his sister posting photos of Jake's high school girlfriend with captions about the one that got away. One entry, dated 2 years into the marriage, described a family dinner where Jake's aunt had spent 30 minutes talking about how beautiful Jake's ex-girlfriend had been. Amanda, you've met Victoria, right? Stunning girl, model cheekbones. Jake was absolutely smitten. Amanda had written, I sat there wondering what would happen if I just stood up and screamed. Would they even notice? Or would they keep talking about Victoria while I had my breakdown? She'd written about Jake too, how he was kind but never defended her, how he'd tell her to let things go, how he'd squeeze her hand under the table instead of speaking up, how his silence felt like agreement. I know he doesn't mean to hurt me, but his quiet is louder than their words. When he doesn't defend me, he's telling me they're right, that I'm not worth defending. Jake read that part and had to leave the room. I heard him crying in the bathroom, the sound of someone's worldview shattering. When he came back, his eyes were swollen. I did the same thing to you. Told you to let it go. Squeezed your hand instead of telling them to stop. Yes, I said. You did. I didn't want to cause family drama. Amanda died because no one wanted to cause family drama. He flinched like I'd hit him. Good. He needed to understand. I've been complicit, he said finally. I watched them treat you the way they treated her. I told myself it wasn't that bad, that they meant well, that they just loved Amanda and needed time. I turned you into Amanda's understudy and didn't even realize it. 7 years isn't enough time? No amount of time makes that okay. He sat down heavily. What do we do now? I'd been thinking about that for 3 days. Your mother wants a chance to do better. I don't know if she's earned that, but Amanda wrote something in her last journal entry. I showed him the page. Amanda's final words before she died, written the morning she killed herself. If there's ever another wife after me, I hope she's stronger than I was. I hope she tells them no. I hope she leaves when I couldn't. I hope she teaches Jake that love means protection, not peace at any price. I hope she survives us. Someone should. Jake read it over and over, tears streaming down his face. She knew I'd remarry eventually. She was giving advice to someone she'd never meet. She was giving permission, I said, for someone to do what she couldn't. We sat in silence for a long time. The journals spread around us like evidence at a crime scene, which, in a way, they were. There's more, I said. I'd found entries from Amanda's last month, detailed accounts of every slight, every criticism, every moment she'd been made to feel small. His mother telling her the turkey was dry at Thanksgiving. His father saying she looked tired in front of dinner guests, suggesting she wear more makeup. His sister asking when she and Jake would have kids, implying she was being selfish for waiting, saying the clock is ticking like Amanda was a bomb about to explode. She documented everything, Jake whispered, like she knew someone would need to see it someday. One entry stood out, written 3 weeks before she died. I tried to talk to Jake's mother today, told her I was drowning. She patted my hand and said all new wives feel overwhelmed at first. I've been married for 4 years. When do I stop being new? When do I get to be enough? The answer is never. I'll never be enough because they don't want a real person. They want a decoration, a pretty prop for their family photos. I'm so tired of being a decoration. Jake put his head in his hands. She was screaming for help and nobody listened. Your family didn't want to hear it, I said. Just like they didn't want to hear me these past 3 years. Another entry, dated 1 week before her death. I've been thinking about what it would be like to just disappear. Not die necessarily. Just cease to exist in this context. To not be Jake's wife or the daughter-in-law or the disappointing woman who can't make pie crust as flaky as everyone wants. To just be Amanda, whoever that is. I don't think I remember anymore. The final entries were the hardest to read. Amanda making peace with her decision. Amanda writing letters to people she'd leave behind. Amanda carefully planning every detail to cause the least inconvenience possible. Even in death, she was trying not to be a burden. What do I say to them? Jake asked. The truth. All of it. 2 weeks later, we invited Jake's family to our house. All of them. His parents, his sister and her husband, his uncle and aunt, his grandmother, his 2 cousins, 20 people in our living room. I didn't cook. We'd ordered pizza and salad from a local place. Paper plates. Plastic cups. The opposite of everything Amanda had been expected to provide. Thank you for coming, I said. I'm going to talk, and you're going to listen. The whole time. No interrupting. His mother opened her mouth. Jake's grandmother shushed her with a sharp look. For 3 years, you've called me second wife, made Amanda into a saint I could never measure up to, criticized everything I did, made me feel like an intruder in my own marriage. I pulled out Amanda's journals. Your mother told me why. You were all consumed with guilt for how you treated Amanda, for driving her to suicide. His sister gasped. His father's face went red. His cousins looked at each other in shock. His uncle's mouth literally fell open. They hadn't known their mother had told me. They hadn't known most of this at all. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to stop using me as your emotional punching bag. You're going to stop comparing me to a dead woman you all failed. You're going to respect that I'm Jake's wife, not his second wife. His wife, period. His aunt started to protest. I held up my hand. I'm not finished. You're also going to get family therapy, all of you, to deal with your guilt about Amanda, because I'm not your therapist. I'm not your absolution. I'm a person who deserves basic respect. And if we don't? His father asked. His voice was defensive, still clinging to his authority. Then you don't see me, or any future grandchildren. You can have a relationship with Jake without me in it, but I won't subject myself or any children to the dysfunction that killed Amanda. The room went silent. I'd never mentioned kids before, never felt safe enough to discuss it with his family hovering, ready to compare my theoretical parenting to Amanda's theoretical parenting. Jake stood next to me. She means it, and I support her completely. You made me complicit in how you treated both my wives. That ends now. I failed Amanda. I won't fail her. His grandmother started clapping. Slowly. Finally. Someone with a spine. Mom? Jake's father said sharply. Oh, shut it, his grandmother snapped. You bullied that poor girl Amanda into her grave. I watched it happen. Said nothing because you're my son. But I'm old now and I'm tired of protecting your ego. This young woman is right. You all need help. Jake's mother was crying again, but this time she nodded. You're right. We'll do whatever it takes. I want to see the therapist's card, I said. I want proof of appointments. And I want a family meeting in 6 months to discuss progress. If things haven't changed, we're done. His uncle spoke up. This seems extreme. We've all been going through a hard time. Amanda went through a harder time. I shot back. For years. And where were you? He had no answer. None of them did. They agreed. What choice did they have? The next 6 months were awkward. Stiff family dinners where everyone overcorrected, being too nice in a way that felt fake. His mother would compliment everything excessively. This casserole is wonderful. Your hair looks lovely. What a beautiful tablecloth. It felt like being praised by robots learning human behavior. But slowly, genuinely, things shifted. His mother stopped mentioning Amanda unless relevant. His sister took down the shrine-like photos from social media. His father actually apologized, for the potato comment and for years of nitpicking. At our 6-month meeting, their family therapist joined via video call. She confirmed they were doing the work, confronting how they'd scapegoated Amanda for their own expectations, learning to see their role in her death. We're learning about enmeshment, his mother explained. How we treated Amanda like an extension of ourselves rather than her own person, and how we were doing the same to you. His sister added, the therapist pointed out that every time we called you second wife, we were really saying you're not good enough either. We were setting up the same impossible standard. Progress, not perfection, but progress. During one therapy session that Jake and I attended, his father broke down. The therapist had asked him to describe a happy memory with Amanda. He couldn't. Every memory he had involved correcting her, advising her, or expressing disappointment. I don't think I ever just enjoyed her company, he admitted. I was always trying to fix her, make her better, more like what I wanted. I treated her like a project instead of a person. His mother had a similar revelation. When asked what Amanda loved, she realized she had no idea. Amanda's favorite color, her favorite song, what she did when she was alone. All mysteries. We never asked, his mother said. We told her who to be and then got angry when she struggled with it. I don't even know if she liked pie. She made them because I told her to. Because that's what wives in our family do. Jake's sister discovered something devastating in therapy. She'd been jealous of Amanda. Pretty, accomplished Amanda who'd married her older brother. So she'd undermined her, posted those photos of high school girlfriends, made comments about Amanda's cooking that sounded helpful, but were really criticisms, small cruelties that added up. I wanted her to fail, she confessed during a family session we attended. I wanted Jake to see she wasn't perfect. I wanted her to be knocked down a peg, but I didn't want her to die. I never wanted that. I just wanted her to struggle like I struggled. The therapist guided them through it. Guilt, shame, accountability. It was messy and painful and long overdue. 8 months after that family meeting, I got pregnant. When we announced it, Jake's mother pulled me aside. I want to show you something, she said. She'd had a small memorial made for Amanda. Not a shrine, just a simple stone in their garden with Amanda's real favorite quote, not some sanitized version they'd made up. It was from a poem, I am not a bird and no net ensnares me. From Jane Eyre, his mother explained, Amanda's real favorite book. We used to tell people her favorite was Pride and Prejudice because it sounded more appropriate, more feminine and romantic. But Amanda loved Jane Eyre, loved the anger in it, the refusal to settle, the woman who chose herself. She'd also framed one of Amanda's journal pages. Not a sad one where Amanda had written about her art. She'd wanted to be a painter. Her family had discouraged it. Said art wasn't practical. Said she needed a real career. Pushed her into accounting instead. I'm taking classes, his mother said quietly. Oil painting, in Amanda's memory. Actually in her memory, not in the fantasy version we created. I'm terrible at it, but I show up every week. It's the least I can do. The gesture felt genuine, small but meaningful. At my baby shower 6 months later, no one mentioned that I was the second wife, but Jake's grandmother gave me a gift separately from the others. Inside was a small painting, Amanda's work, a self-portrait showing her in bright colors, smiling genuinely, free. She painted this when she was 19, his grandmother explained, before they broke her spirit, before she learned to make herself smaller. I kept it hidden all these years. Thought you should have it. The woman in the painting looked nothing like the sad photos I'd seen. She looked alive, radiant, her eyes bright with possibility. She would have liked you, his grandmother added. The real Amanda, not the doll they made her into. The Amanda who painted and dreamed and wanted more than what she was allowed to have. I studied the painting for a long time. Amanda had talent, real, undeniable talent. The brush strokes were confident, the colors bold. This was someone who had something to say and the skill to say it. Why did you keep it hidden? I asked. His grandmother's face hardened. Because they wanted to pretend she'd never been this person. This vibrant, opinionated, creative person. It was easier to remember her as the quiet, obedient girl who did what she was told. This painting showed too much personality, too much defiance. They couldn't reconcile the Amanda they'd created with the Amanda who'd actually existed. When my daughter was born, we named her Veronica Jane. Veronica for my grandmother, who'd taught me that a woman's voice matters. Jane for Amanda's favorite character, the one who refused to be less than she was. Jake's family sends gifts and visits regularly now. They're careful with boundaries. They apologize when they overstep. His mother volunteers at a suicide prevention hotline twice a week. His sister donated a significant amount to an art therapy program for depressed teens in Amanda's name. His father funded a scholarship for women in art school, specifically for students who come from families that discourage creative careers. They're trying, not for absolution, but because they finally understand what they lost when they lost Amanda, and what they almost lost when they treated me the same way. But there were setbacks. 3 months after Veronica was born, Jake's mother slipped. We were at a family dinner and she said, Amanda would have loved being a grandmother. The table went silent. Forks stopped midair. I mean, she stammered, realizing her mistake. If things had been different, if she'd lived. Mom, Jake said quietly, we talked about this. I know, I'm sorry, it just came out. I took a breath. Amanda never got the chance to be a grandmother because you made her life unbearable. Don't romanticize it now. Don't use her death to make yourself feel something. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. You're right, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It wasn't the last time someone slipped. Old patterns die hard. But each time, someone called it out. Usually Jake's grandmother, who'd appointed herself the family's conscience. Last week, on what would have been Amanda's 35th birthday, Jake's whole family came to our house. Not for a party, for a memorial. A real one. We went through Amanda's art portfolio. Jake's mother had saved everything. Paintings Amanda had been told to hide. Sketches his father said were too dark, too morbid. Sculptures his sister said were weird and unsettling. They were beautiful. Dark and honest and raw. Amanda had captured pain and hope in equal measure. One painting showed a woman trapped in a birdcage made of flowers. Beautiful prison. Another showed hands reaching through water, just barely breaking the surface. A third showed a dinner table where everyone had faces except the woman serving the food. We're setting up a gallery showing, his mother announced. Local artist Space agreed to feature her work next spring. All proceeds will go to mental health services and art programs for young women. It's called Second Chances. And she looked at me when she said it. Because Amanda deserved a second chance, and so did you. And we're grateful you gave us one, even though we didn't earn it. I don't know if I've forgiven them. Forgiveness is complicated. They destroyed one woman and tried to diminish another. That doesn't wash away just because they feel bad about it now, but I'm not carrying their guilt anymore. I'm not Amanda's replacement or their redemption project. I'm Jake's wife, not his second wife, just his wife. And that's enough. My daughter is 2 now. She's obsessed with paint, gets it everywhere. On the walls, the floors, herself. Jake's mother buys her art supplies constantly, encourages the mess. Never once has she suggested Veronica be neater, quieter, cleaner, or more appropriate. Let her create, she tells me. Let her be loud about it. Let her make messes. It's the least she can do, and maybe the most. We hung Amanda's self-portrait in Veronica's nursery, the happy one, where Amanda is young and free and full of possibility. Jake talks to it sometimes when he puts our daughter to bed. I'm sorry, he whispers to the painting. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you, but I promise I'll protect her. Both of them. He can't change the past. Neither can his family, but they're trying to change the future. Last Thanksgiving, we hosted dinner. First time in 2 years. I cooked what I wanted, my recipes, my style. Made a curry instead of turkey because I hate turkey and I'm done pretending I don't. No one complained. His father asked for seconds. His mother helped clean up without commenting on my organizational system or the dishes I'd chosen or the way I'd folded the napkins. His sister complimented the unconventional menu and asked for the recipe. As we clear dishes, Jake's grandmother pulled me aside one last time. You know what the difference is between you and Amanda? I braced myself, still not entirely trusting these moments. Amanda broke herself trying to fit into their mold. You broke the mold instead. That's why you're still here. That's why your daughter will grow up knowing she doesn't have to be anything but herself. She squeezed my hand. Her grip was strong despite her age, despite the arthritis I knew bothered her. Stay broken, she said. Stay exactly like you are. Never smooth your edges for anyone. Teach that little girl to be jagged too. I think about that sometimes. About edges and molds and the women we're supposed to be versus the women we are. I think about Amanda. About the vibrant artist hidden under layers of expectations. About the woman who wrote in her journal that she hoped another wife would survive where she couldn't. About the self-portrait hanging in my daughter's room. Proof that Amanda existed beyond the narrative her family constructed. I survived. But more than that, I refused to shrink. Refused to make myself smaller, quieter, more palatable. Refused to become Amanda's ghost. And maybe that's what Amanda really wanted. Not another perfect wife, but one imperfect woman who said no. Who walked out of Christmas dinner and let them eat pizza. Who demanded respect instead of begging for acceptance. Who read Amanda's journals and honored the real woman instead of the myth. I was never the second wife. I was the first version of myself. And that version doesn't do second place.